The gift that breathed. The sky above the royal palace of Velcara was purple with twin suns. The air buzzed with excitement. Inside the great hall, alien nobles stood in a circle, watching the stage in the center. It was Princess Zekra's 18th birthday, a royal day, a powerful day. Zekra walked slowly onto the stage. She was tall, proud, with glowing violet skin and sharp golden eyes. Her long black hair flowed behind her like a shadow. The crowd clapped and bowed. She lifted one hand to silence them. Her father, Emperor Jorvax, stood beside a tall, black cage. "Your gift, daughter," he said with a wicked smile. Zekra raised an eyebrow. "A cage?" The crowd chuckled softly. Zekra stepped forward. She expected a beast, maybe a tamed war predator or a rare flying raptor. But inside the cage was something very different, a human boy. He looked young, maybe her age. Dirty brown hair, clothes torn, face bruised but calm. And he was breathing slowly, eyes sharp. Not like a slave, not like a broken thing. Zekra's heart skipped. "What is that?" Her father smirked. "That, my dear, is your human. Real one, not a clone. Captured from the forbidden colonies." She stared, stunned. "You got me." "A human?" Gasps came from the nobles. Some laughed, others whispered. Zekra stepped closer to the cage. The human didn't back away. He just stood still and stared right at her, too directly. Zekra frowned. "Why is he looking at me like that? He should kneel." She snapped her fingers. "Kneel." But the human did not move. Her father chuckled. "They're stubborn creatures. It will learn." Zekra looked at the human again. Something was strange. His eyes weren't afraid. He wasn't trembling. In fact, he looked calm, confident, maybe even proud. "What's your name, human?" she asked, folding her arms. He answered clearly. "Reed." His voice was strong, clear, not the voice of a slave. "You speak our language?" she asked. "I learn fast," he replied, then added, "especially when I'm stolen." Zekra's golden eyes narrowed. The crowd went silent. "What did you say?" she asked, stepping closer to the bars. "You heard me," Reed said, eyes never leaving hers. "I was taken from a research ship. My friends were killed. And now, I'm a gift? For what? Entertainment?" Her cheeks burned. No one had ever spoken to her like this. Not even generals dared. Her father growled, "Enough, you belong to her now. Show respect." But Reed only said, "Respect is earned, not bought." Zekra stared at him. She should have been angry, furious. Instead, she felt something else, a strange pull. This human was not weak, he was not soft, he was fire in a cage. "Leave us," she ordered. "All of you." The nobles looked shocked, but they obeyed. Her father raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Soon, only Zekra and Reed were left. She knelt beside the cage. "You're lucky I didn't have you whipped for speaking like that. You're lucky I didn't break out already," he said. Zekra's lips twitched. Was he joking? "No one dares speak to me that way," she said. "Maybe they should," Reed replied. There was a silence. Then he turned his wrist to show her something. A mark. A burn. A deep one. "They did this while trying to break me," he said. "But I didn't scream. I didn't beg." Zekra's eyes widened. She reached out, almost touched his wrist, but stopped herself. "You're not like the others," she whispered. He nodded. "Neither are you." They locked eyes again. Her heart beat faster. Was this connection? She stood up quickly. "I'm not interested in talking. Tomorrow, I'll decide what to do with you." He gave a small nod. "Fine. But remember, I'm not yours." She walked away, but his voice followed her. "You may own the cage, but not the man inside it." Zekra didn't look back, but her mind was spinning. She had received a human as a gift, but he wasn't acting like a gift. He wasn't scared. He wasn't broken. He was alive. and she had never felt more curious in her life. The next morning, Princess Zekra didn't sleep well. Her dreams were strange, full of fire and eyes. Brown human eyes that didn't look away, that dared to stare into hers. She stood on her balcony, watching the silver mist rise from the jungle. She still couldn't believe it. A human, a real one, was inside her palace, not chained, not broken, still full of fire. And he talked back. Zekra changed quickly into her black battle robe and stepped into the hall with long, quiet steps. She told no guards, no servants. She walked alone, deep beneath the palace where the holding chambers were. Coming to the door to the cage room slid open with a soft hiss. Reed was awake. He was sitting inside the cage, cross-legged, eyes calm. His arms were resting on his knees, and he looked up the moment she stepped in. "Princess," he said. His voice was flat, but not mocking. "You're awake early," Zekra replied, walking slowly toward the cage. "I didn't sleep." Reed said. "Too bright, too many voices." Zekra paused. "You don't sound afraid." "I was afraid yesterday," he said, eyes never blinking. "Not of you, of what you'd become if you think owning people is normal." Zekra stopped. Those words hit harder than any weapon. No one ever questioned her, her family, her world. No one, until now. She folded her arms. "You speak boldly for someone in a cage." Reed gave a small shrug. "Because truth lives outside of fear." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she asked, "What were you doing before they captured you?" Reed leaned back against the bars. "I was part of a human science crew. We were mapping old ruins on a floating asteroid. Some alien pirates boarded us. I saw my captain get shot. My medic, she was only 16, was dragged away screaming." Zekra's hands tightened. She didn't expect this. Not real pain. Not a real story. "And then?" she asked quietly. "I fought. I lost. I woke up here." She looked away for a moment. The truth stung more than expected. "I didn't ask for you," she said finally. "I didn't ask to be taken," he replied gently. A long silence filled the room. Then Zekra knelt down near the cage again. "Why didn't you bow?" she asked softly. "Everyone bows. Even nobles bow." Reed tilted his head. "Because I don't see you as higher than me." She blinked. "I'm royalty." "You're a person," he said. "Like me." That made her pause. "I've never met anyone who talked to me like this," she whispered. Reed gave a small smile. "Then maybe it's time someone did." Zekra laughed, but it wasn't cruel, it was small, unsure. "You're strange," she said. "For a human." "You're strange too," Reed said. "For an alien princess." Zekra looked down at her. Hands. Then she leaned closer to the bars. "You're not what I expected." Reed's expression changed. Softer. Less cold. "Neither are you," he said. Suddenly the chamber lights turned red. An alarm buzzed softly. Zekra stood quickly. "What is it?" Reed asked. Zekra touched her earcom. "Yes?" A guard's voice came through. "Princess, the Empress requests your presence. Now." Zekra growled under her breath. "Tell her. But Reed interrupted her. "You should go." She looked at him. "Why?" "Because if they find you here, talking to me like this, they might think you're different, and different is dangerous." Zekra stared at him again. "Are you warning me?" Reed looked away. "Let's just say, I've seen what happens to those who ask questions." She didn't answer. Instead, she turned to leave. But just before the door closed behind her, she spoke without looking back. "I'll return. I have more questions." And from behind, Reed replied, "I have more answers." Zekra walked the long hall back toward the upper palace. Her mind was racing. What had just happened? She was starting to see the human not as a thing, not as a prize, but as someone real, someone bold, someone kind, and deep down something inside her was waking up. something that made her wonder. Was she the one in a cage all along? The palace lights dimmed as the second sun set behind the crystal mountains. Shadows danced across the golden walls. Deep in her chambers, Princess Zekra couldn't sleep. She had tried meditation. She had even dipped into a steaming mineral bath. But her mind was full of one thing. Reed, the human, had shaken something inside her. He had not begged. He had not flattered. He had spoken like an equal, like someone who wasn't afraid of her crown, her name, or her power. And he had stories. Strange, forbidden stories. Zekra pulled on a dark cloak and slipped through the servants' tunnels. She moved silently, the way royal assassins were trained. But she wasn't going to kill anyone tonight. She just needed answers. Reed sat cross-legged in the center of his cage, eyes closed, breathing slow. But he opened them the moment he felt a change in the air. He didn't turn. "You walk softly. For a princess." Zekra pulled her hood back. "You're awake again." "I don't sleep much in cages," he said. She stepped closer and crouched down. "Tell me something, human. Are all your kind like you?" Reed's lips curved slightly. "You mean bold and annoying?" She gave a soft smirk. "I mean, honest." He tilted his head. "Not all. Some lie better than your nobles. But we were taught to question, even when afraid." Zekra frowned. "Where I come from, questions are punished." Reed leaned forward slightly. "And where I come from, truth is the only way forward." They stared at each other in silence for a moment. Then she asked, "You said Earth is real. But we were taught it burned 1,000 cycles ago. Humans were wiped out." Reed's eyes darkened. "That's the story your empire tells. But it's not true. Earth is hidden, alive, quiet, because we chose to vanish." Zekra blinked. "Why?" "To survive," he whispered. "Your people came in warships, took samples, captured humans, studied us like animals. So we left our signals silent. We let you think we were gone." Zekra's heart thumped. He wasn't telling a story. He was telling history. She looked at him closer. "Then why did you come? Out again? Why were you on a research ship?" Reed lowered his voice. "Because Earth is changing. We're getting stronger. Faster. We wanted to see if the galaxy still feared us." "And?" she asked. His eyes met hers. "They do. That's why I was taken." Zekra sat down beside the cage, this time without worry or pride. She whispered, "Do you hate me?" Reed took a long breath. "No. I hate your system. But you, I don't know yet." A pause. Then he asked, "Why are you here? At night?" Zekra looked away. "I shouldn't be. If they find out I'm talking to you like this, I could be punished, or worse." "Then go," he said gently. "I can't," she replied. "You're the only one who doesn't lie to me." She reached into her cloak and pulled out a small cube, a translator. She pushed it through the bars. Reed took it with surprise. "Why are you giving this to me?" "It lets you access the palace network," she said. "Low level only, but you can read things. Hidden things." He stared at the device. "You trust me?" She didn't answer right away. Then finally, "I want to understand. I want to know what they've hidden from me." Reed gave a small smile. "Then you're already different from them." He tapped the cube, and a small screen glowed blue. As he searched, he whispered aloud, "Project Hush, Species 7X. Ah, here." He turned the screen toward her. Zekra gasped. Images of humans in cages, notes on experiments, a list of names, including Reed Thorne, Subject 37, dangerous. Her fingers trembled. "They lied to me," she whispered. Reed nodded. "They lied to everyone." Suddenly, loud steps echoed in the corridor. Zekra's eyes went wide. "Hide that!" she hissed. Reed swallowed the cube in one gulp. She stepped back as the door opened, and a guard entered. "Princess?" he said, surprised. "Why are you—" She stood tall. "Checking on my gift. Is that a crime?" The guard bowed quickly. No, Your Grace, forgive me. Then leave, she commanded coldly, and forget you saw me here. The guard vanished. Zekra turned back to Reed. That was close. He nodded. You didn't have to lie for me, she whispered. I didn't lie. I'm not protecting you. I'm protecting the only truth I've found in this place. Their eyes met again. In the shadows, something was growing between them. Not romance, not trust, but something far more dangerous. Understanding. The moon above Velkara was massive, blue, cracked, and glowing. It watched the land like a silent judge. In the garden, behind the palace, Princess Zekra stood alone, her cloak wrapped tightly around her shoulders. The night breeze carried the scent of flame flowers and sharp metal from the royal guard's weapons nearby. But her eyes weren't on the stars. They were on the secret path to the underground cells. For the last 3 nights, Zekra had met Reed in silence, hidden by the shadows. Each time she stayed longer. Each time she asked more questions, and each time she left with a heavier heart. Now things had changed. She had overheard something she wasn't supposed to know. Her father, Emperor Yorvax, was preparing to sell Reed to a cruel off-world general, a being known for using humans in live fire tests. He called it battle entertainment. Zekra's hands were shaking. The idea of Reed being chained, dragged, hurt again, it made her stomach twist, and she didn't know why. He was just a human, wasn't he? Deep beneath the palace, Reed stood at the back of his cage, calmly watching the door. When Zekra slipped inside, he noticed something different. Her steps were quicker, her face tight. Something happened, he said. She nodded. They're selling you. In 2 days. You're to be sent off-world, to die. Reed didn't react. I figured. You knew? I could feel it. When the guards talk, they forget I understand them. Zekra stared at him. Aren't you scared? He looked at her. I already died once. Everything after is borrowed time. That hit her like a cold blade. I won't let them take you, she said suddenly. Reed blinked. What? I'll help you escape. He stepped forward. You'd be risking your life, your family, your title. I know. He tilted his head. Why? She swallowed hard. Because you made me feel something I never felt before. What's that? He asked quietly. Zekra looked down. Guilt and truth. She took a deep breath and knelt beside the cage again. There's a hidden glider in the east hangar, she whispered. Old and dusty, but it flies. I can get us there during the Harvest Festival. All eyes will be on the sky show. No one will notice 2 shadows slipping away. Reed narrowed his eyes. Us? She nodded. I'm going with you, he frowned. Why would you leave everything? Your home, your crown. She cut in. Because my home is a lie, and my crown is a chain. Reed was silent. Then he said, Earth isn't a paradise, Zekra. It's rough, it's wild, and they may not trust you. She smiled slightly. Sounds better than a palace of masks. A long silence passed between them. Then Reed asked, What do you want in return? Zekra's smile faded. Just one thing. He waited. Tell me what freedom really feels like, she said softly. He nodded. Deal. The next day passed in silence. Zekra acted normal, like a proper princess. She smiled at the nobles, gave fake laughter at the feast, and bowed to her father. But her mind was on midnight. When the tower bell struck 12, she moved. She disabled the hallway cams with a pulse jammer. She wore a servant's cloak. She snuck into the cell room and opened the cage quietly. Reed stepped out slowly, his body sore, but alert. They said nothing. Words were too heavy now. She led him through the servant tunnels, past dusty halls, past ancient gates long forgotten. Finally, they reached the glider hangar. It was old, covered in rust, but the light still flickered on when she powered it. Reed climbed into the pilot seat. Zekra paused at the door. This is the last time I'll See this place, she whispered. Reed looked at her. Good. She turned to him, surprised. You were born to rule lies, he said. Now you get to live truth. The engines roared to life. The floor shook, but it wasn't the ship. It was alarm bells. They found us, Zekra gasped. Guards stormed in from the far gate. Go, she yelled. Reed pulled her into the seat beside him. Hold on. The glider shot forward, bursting through the hangar's cracked dome. Bolts of energy flew past them. One clipped the wing, but they were airborne. Zekra looked back once, watching the only home she'd ever known disappear behind smoke and fire. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She only whispered, never again. Beside her, Reed gripped the controls, guiding them toward the dark side of the planet. They didn't know what was waiting out there, but they were free, and that was enough. The glider screamed across the sky like a wounded hawk. Smoke poured from the left wing where an energy bolt had sliced through metal. Sparks flew behind the cockpit. The alarm light blinked red again and again. Zekra's hands trembled as she stared out the cracked window. She had flown ships in simulators, safe, slow, and under control, but this was real. This was war in the sky. Reed kept both hands on the controls, his jaw tight. He didn't shout. He didn't panic. He flew. They hit the coolant lines, he muttered. Can you land it? Zekra asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, yes, if the trees don't kill us first. Below them stretched a wild, forbidden jungle, thick with glowing vines, massive roots, and creatures that even Zekra had only seen in dark history scrolls. No royal ever went there. It was called the Scorchwood. She looked at him. Anywhere else? Only back to the palace, he said. And I don't think that's an option. She took a deep breath. Then aim for the fire. Reed raised an eyebrow. What? She pointed down. There was a narrow patch where smoke rose from the trees, an area already burned by lightning storms. No trees, she said. We land in the scar. Reed adjusted the controls. Hold tight. The crash wasn't clean. The glider slammed into the ground, metal groaning. The ship scraped across the black earth, sparks dancing around them. When they finally stopped, silence returned, except for the hissing of broken systems. Zekra coughed, unstrapped, and fell out of the door onto the scorched soil. Her knees hit the ground. Her hands were scraped. Her crown, now hidden under the cloak, had been lost somewhere in the crash. She was no longer a princess, just a girl in the dirt. Reed climbed out slowly, one arm bleeding from a shard of glass. You okay? He asked. Zekra looked up at him. Define okay. He smiled faintly. Still breathing counts. Suddenly a loud screech echoed through the jungle. Zekra stood quickly. What was that? Reed picked up a metal rod from the wreck. We're not alone. The jungle was alive with movement. Eyes blinked from the shadows. The trees hissed as glowing sap dripped like tears. Strange insect birds darted overhead. The heat pressed down like a heavy blanket. Zekra and Reed moved together, quiet but fast, away from the wreck. The fire would draw attention, and attention could mean hunters, beasts or soldiers. As they walked, Zekra limped slightly. Reed noticed. Your ankle? Twisted, she admitted. Not broken. He stopped, knelt, and without asking, wrapped a cloth from his shirt around her ankle. She stared down at him, surprised. You don't have to. I know, he said, I want to. She looked away. You humans are strange. He chuckled. You haven't met many. I've only met one, she said softly, and then she added, but he's not what I expected. By dusk, they found shelter, an old metal structure half buried in the earth, a forgotten outpost from some old war. The walls were cracked, the roof half gone, but it was safe for now. Inside, Zekra sat beside Reed, both of them breathing hard. We escaped, she whispered. For now, he replied. She leaned against the cold wall. I never thought I'd see this day. Reed looked at her. Still sure about leaving your world behind? She nodded slowly. My world never felt like mine, but here, now, I feel more alive than I ever did behind palace gates. He was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Why me?" She turned. "What? Why did you help me?" he asked. She thought carefully, then said, "Because you didn't see me as a title. You didn't flinch. You challenged me. And you made me see something my people tried to bury. Humanity." Reed's voice was soft. "We're not perfect." "Neither are we," she said. "But maybe we're both broken in ways that fit together." Suddenly, lights appeared in the sky. Search drones. Zekra jumped to her feet. "They're tracking us." Reed stood as well. "We move now, through the gorge." They ran into the trees just as a beam of light swept over the outpost ruins. The metal cage that once held Reed was now ashes. The princess's path was now a fugitive's trail. They didn't look back. They ran into the dark. Together, the jungle finally gave way to stone. After days of running through thick vines, mud, and strange glowing creatures, Zekra and Reed stood at the edge of a deep canyon. A silver mist rose from below. Across the gorge stood something ancient, half buried in rock and covered in green moss. It didn't belong to this planet. It was a structure. Not alien, not Velkaran. It was human. Reed's eyes lit up. "We found it," he whispered. Zekra stared, in disbelief. "This place, it's real?" He nodded. "One of Earth's hidden relay stations. My crew was searching for it before we were attacked. The stone doors were sealed, covered in strange carvings and warning signs in old human languages." Reed walked up to the panel and touched it. Nothing. Then he rolled up his sleeve and placed his bare skin on a hidden scanner. A soft hum echoed from beneath the earth. The doors creaked open slowly, and inside was light. The underground hall glowed with golden lamps, still alive after centuries. The walls were smooth metal. A soft breeze flowed through the vents, cold and clean. The air smelled like memory. Zekra followed him quietly. "This place is older than my kingdom," she said softly. Reed stopped at a central terminal. He placed his palm on the reader. A screen blinked to life. It spoke in a deep voice. "Welcome, Earth citizen. Archive mode unlocked." Zekra stepped back. "That voice? It's an AI," Reed explained. "This station was used to store human records during the Great Silence." Zekra frowned. "The Great Silence?" Reed looked at her. "When we disappeared. When we went dark to survive." The screen lit up with images. Cities in the clouds, oceans full of machines, forests glowing with biolight, and then war. Aliens invading, ships burning, humans fighting. Zekra watched, speechless. "Your people did this?" She wanted to ask, but something inside her already knew the answer. "Why didn't you fight back?" she finally whispered. Reed's jaw tightened. "We did, but we knew we couldn't win if we stayed loud, so we left our colonies. We scattered. We erased ourselves from the galaxy's maps." "And now?" she asked. Reed looked at her. "Now we're waking up again." Zekra sat on a smooth bench near the console. Her eyes were wide. "So Earth still exists?" Reed nodded. "Hidden, protected, waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For the right time," he said. "For people who remember what it means to be free." She looked at him closely. "And you? You're one of them?" He smiled faintly. "Just a scout. I wasn't supposed to be captured, but now I'm glad I was." Zekra blinked. "Why?" "Because I met you." Silence passed between them, not awkward, not afraid, just quiet, like trust. Zekra stood and walked to a wall where a symbol was painted, an old human mark, a tree growing from a broken chain. "What does this mean?" she asked. Reed joined her. "It's a promise that no matter how far we fall, we rise again." She touched the symbol gently. "I never believed in humans. I thought they were extinct. Wild. Dangerous. He smiled. We are dangerous, but not in the way they told you. Zekra turned to face him. Then tell me, what are humans really like? Reed looked her in the eye. We love hard. We fight harder. We protect what matters. And when someone hurts the ones we care about, his voice dropped. We don't forget. Zekra's heart beat faster, not from fear, but from the truth in his words. Later, they sat by a small fire inside the old bunker. Reed had found rations stored in sealed boxes. Zekra tasted human food for the first time, dry, spicy, but oddly comforting. She looked across the fire. You're not afraid anymore, are you? She asked. Reed shook his head. No, not with you here. She smiled. You should be. I'm still a traitor to my people. I have no title, no army. If they catch us, we don't run anymore, Reed said. We show them we're not, just pieces on their game board. He held up the data crystal he had taken from the console. This proves Earth still lives. If we get it to the right people, everything changes. Zekra looked at him. So what now? Reed stared into the flames. Now, we prepare. Above them in the night sky, search ships still flew in wide circles. But below, in the quiet dark of the Earth-made bunker, two souls sat side by side, one alien, one human. And between them was a secret that could shake the galaxy. The jungle was burning. Flames lit up the sky where the search ships had finally found the wreckage of the glider. Smoke rose into the clouds thick and black. Zekra and Reed watched from the ridge above, hidden behind ancient stone pillars and vines. They think we died in the crash, Zekra whispered. Reed didn't look away. Let them believe it. It buys us time. In her old life, Zekra would have been sitting on a golden throne today, accepting gifts and false praise. Now she wore patched clothes, a stolen cloak, and dirt on her face. And yet, she had never felt more real. Back inside the human outpost, they were preparing for something bigger. Reed had activated an old beacon. It was silent to alien tech, but human ships would detect it. He sat at the console watching the signal pulse like a heartbeat. Someone will come, he said. They have to. Zekra stood nearby, staring at a mirror that showed her reflection. For the first time, she saw not a royal girl, but a woman shaped by choices. You really think Earth will send someone? She asked. Reed nodded. They never forgot their own, and now I've sent proof that one of our deep sites still survives. Zekra looked down. And what about me? What if they don't accept me? Reed stood up and walked to her. Then they'll have to accept me, he said, and I accept you. She looked into his eyes. No golden crown. No cage. Just two people standing in the ashes of what they used to be. Even if I'm not human? She asked. He smiled gently. You're more human than half the ones I've met. 3 nights passed. On the 4th night, something stirred the trees above. A strange hum. Then, a deep rumble across the sky. Zekra rushed out of the outpost, eyes wide. A massive shape was descending through the clouds. Not alien. Not Velkaran. Human. It was a ship, black and silver, shaped like a bird with wings tucked in tight. It hovered, low, then released a platform that touched the jungle floor. A voice crackled through her stolen comm band. This is the Earth vessel Starlight. Signal received, confirm identity. Reed stepped forward and spoke clearly. Reed Thorne. Scout class. Status. Escaped captivity. Mission report ready. There was a pause. Then, welcome home, Reed. Is that a Velkaran with you? Zekra's stomach turned. She looked at Reed, unsure. He gave her a soft nod. She's with me, he said into the mic. She saved me. Another pause. Then, understood. Bring her aboard. Inside the ship, everything felt cleaner, brighter, different. Zekra walked slowly down the corridor, her fingers brushing the metal walls. Human crew stared at her, some with curiosity, some with caution, but no one raised a weapon. No one called her enemy. Reed walked beside her. Confident. Safe. Home. A woman in a dark blue uniform approached. Her rank pins were high. Her eyes were kind but sharp. "I'm Commander Aria Vance," she said, "and you're the one we thought we lost." Reed saluted. "I brought something, and someone." The commander turned to Zekra. "You helped him escape?" Zekra nodded. "I gave up my throne to protect him, and to learn the truth." The commander studied her, then smiled. "You'll find Earth welcomes those who seek truth." Hours later they stood together in the viewing bay. The stars stretched wide outside. The ship moved quietly, heading toward the deep sector where Earth's true location remained hidden. Zekra leaned against the window. "I never thought I'd leave my planet," she said softly, "and I never thought I'd return with an alien." "Princess?" Reed replied. She smiled. "Ex-princess." He shook his head. "You're still royalty, but now, to me." She turned to face him. "And what are you now, Reed?" He chuckled. "I guess I'm your human." They stood in silence. No war, no fear, just two hearts that had crossed stars and broken cages. As the Earth rose in the distance, a blue and green marble glowing against the black, Zekra took Reed's hand. She had been given many things in life: power, riches, obedience. But the strangest gift of all was the one that breathed and loved her back.